Mark Avery, brother, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast today. Really appreciate it, man.
All good. Really good to chat to you, Nick.
I like to start my podcast with gratefuls. So, what are you grateful for today?
Oh, what am I grateful for today? Well, I've already had my coffee, which I really look forward to every morning. Um, just with lockdown, just being at home with the family, just slowing things down. I know that lockdown is really bad, but and there's been lots of negative things, but for me, one positive has just been slowing down and spending more time with the family. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, it's the small things in life that we take for granted, and obviously times like this allow us to take a step back from the hustle and bustle in life and actually, spend that quality time with your kids or your partner or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I might change my mind in an hour or two when they come down, but at this moment in time, I'm very grateful for them.
Haven't driven you crazy yet?
Oh, mate, there's been moments definitely, but no, overall, it's just a really fun time, and they've been getting on like a house on fire as well. Um, so overall, it's been good for us as a family.
Yeah, kids would be loving it, not having to go to school.
Yeah, well, yes and no. They're missing their mates.
Yeah, they
They're
like the
missing their
social
mates and their
aspect, but they
sport.
don't like the work.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Now, for people who don't know who you are, like I've done a bit of research. I know you've, dealt with your own mental issues and stuff. You want to kind of introduce yourself and a bit about your story?
Yeah, cool. So I suppose my running journey really started 7 years ago. So we were living next door to some friends that we all worked with, and they had a daughter the same age as my daughter. They were quite young at the time, 3 or 4. So yeah, back in October 2014, unfortunately, um, my friend and neighbor Frank was diagnosed with cancer. And, 1 minute we were passing the kids over the back fence and catching up every weekend and every day. And then in a few short months, unfortunately, Frank passed. And yeah, we were all a bit lost. And I really didn't know what to do. Um, and just, I think, like a typical bloke, you keep it in and you try and be what you think is strong. But yeah, it wasn't a good place at all. And one thing led to another, and it crept up on me, and I started drinking more, and it just escalated really, really quickly. Looking back, um, to the point where I just couldn't concentrate at work. I wasn't sleeping. I was having panic attacks at work, which I've didn't have before, and I haven't had since. Um, and yeah, just didn't know what to do. So um, that was the kind of start of my my running journey. So it was running really that, I couldn't sleep, so I tried to turn to running as a way to try and grab hold of life again and get back in control and try and change my state. Um, so that's how my running journey started 7 years ago. And yeah, kind of at the time I started to feel a bit better. I mean, actually, alongside my running, I went to the doctors because just didn't know what to do. And as soon as he asked how I felt, I just burst into tears and felt a bit better just talking to somebody. So that for me was then, as I started to train more, um, went and ran my first marathon. And then it was on one of those first training runs that I thought of running from Brisbane to Sydney. Um, I've got no idea why. It was just one of these big things. I felt so useless and rubbish at the time that I needed to do something big to prove myself. So it was probably born out of a dark place. Um, but as I started to feel better and do more exercise and replace all those bad habits of drinking, especially with positive habits, feeling better and better. And that's when I was coming up to the event, that's where I decided to put this focus on partnering with a mental health charity, Gotcha for Life, and trying to do something with them and build a really, I suppose, a positive campaign out of what I was doing.
Awesome. And you touch on running and exercise, and it's crazy like the amount of people I've spoken to who have, dealt with mental health, how much actually exercising and nutrition can actually help you into getting on the right path. And
Mm,
it's the simple things in life, as in, exercise, nutrition, they can help you so much. Whereas, they don't push that out in the media and stuff. They
yeah,
push all these other narratives except for the stuff that you can do for free, basically, and has really good effects on you.
yeah, definitely. And sleep is, I suppose, another huge one that actually during the lockdown as well, I've tried to prioritize my sleep. That's another thing my coach has been hitting me on. If you're doing these, you're training a lot, you need to make sure, yes, you're eating well and recovering well and doing all of that, but sleep is a huge thing. And that was probably something I was, especially when I first got into doing ultras, is something that I completely neglected. For the first year of training, I was so exhausted the whole time, just so tired. Go out if I popped out for dinner with the wife, I'd be falling asleep at the dinner table. So yeah, she wasn't too happy with that. But you're totally right. That I think there's certain things like eating well, sleeping well, those good habits to help you build that foundation, which you can then build on and build on.
Mm. Now, in that time period when you're bottling up your emotions, did you reach out
Mm.
to anyone before, like the doctors and that? Like, did you speak to your wife, or you just kept it all in?
Um, yeah, I kept it all in, and to be honest, Nick, I didn't really know anything different at the time. 7 years ago, I think the stigma attached to opening up and being vulnerable and talking to yourself probably wasn't there 7 years ago, or I just wasn't aware of it. So it that just wasn't an option at the time. So for me, my mindset was I've got to figure this out on my own, and I can't talk about it to my mates, otherwise they're going to think I'm a, you know what.
Mm.
So it was, yeah, the only, I think I told my wife maybe once or twice, but it was just, oh yeah, I'm feeling a bit average, I need to go and see the doctor. And even when I saw the doctor, it was, yes, I poured my heart out and broke down, but then at the end of the session he's like, do you want to, what do you want to do next? And I said, oh, I don't know, but I don't want to go onto medication. That for me, I didn't. I've got nothing against people going onto medication for it, but it was something I wanted to try and stay away from, if I could, and try and find other alternatives. And I think I told one person at work, but that was because they were covering for me. So, I was sitting in meetings and having panic attacks, and I'd have to pretend I had a phone call, walk outside, text them, they would go into the meeting and cover for me. So it was a horrible time. And I suppose the worst thing about knowing with a panic attack is sometimes just the thought of I'm going to have a panic attack would then cause a panic attack. So it was a really, really crazy time, and it was all just looking back, it all feels like a big blur. Um, mm.
How often were you having those panic attacks? Like every day, or?
Multiple times a week, and it was linked to, I think, lack of sleep as well, and maybe um, definitely the alcohol as well. So
How
it
much?
was
How much were
just
you drinking?
Um, maybe, I don't know, 8 beers a night and maybe some whiskey as well. Um, I wasn't drinking during the day. It was all like get in from work, and the first thing you do is go to the fridge and scull a beer. Then you just chipping away. So maybe 6 to 8 beers a day, and then you just keep upping it and adding a bit of whiskey in. You know, you'd easily go through a case or two at the weekends. Um, yeah, and I felt like I couldn't start my weekend unless I got really drunk on the Friday, which looking back is, yeah, no wonder I was feeling a bit crap.
And like, did your wife pick up on it and say anything to you?
Um, no, not really. I mean, we grew up in a big drinking culture, and
Mm.
it's quite normal to be hungover, and feel rubbish at times. Um, so yeah, not really. Um, I mean, we were both stressed at the time. We were both in really busy jobs. We'd both been promoted that same year, so there was the added stress of that, and then chuck everything else on top. And I was drinking, and yeah, it was just everything that we just talked about. Those foundational things just was not there at all.
Mm. Sounds like there was just so much going on that both of you were just masking your pain with whatever you could.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And you just didn't know. I think I'd never gone through anything like that before, losing somebody and having to go through that process. And I just didn't cope with it at all. But I think looking back and going through doing the work with Gotcha for Life and the charity and what I know now, yeah, definitely, I've got some really, really good mates now that I can have those conversations with to stop it getting to that point. I've got my good habits in place around running, that just clear my mind. Yeah, I love a beer, but running and feeling healthy, and I suppose these challenges as well keep you in check, and keep you accountable.
Mm. They hurt a lot more, but you feel a lot better from it.
Yeah, it was funny. I heard somebody, I can't remember who it was, and I'm going to get it wrong, but it was something along the lines of, you drink and you feel really good at the time, but then feel like crap afterwards. And running, you feel like crap at the time, but then you feel really good afterwards. So it's like the opposite of alcohol.
Yeah, 100% agree there. Now, what would you say, like, what was rock bottom for you? And like, what was the turning point that really got you into running and turning your life around?
um, yeah, rock bottom crept up, and can't I can't say an exact time, but I just remember feeling just completely worthless for weeks, if not months on end. And I actually remember one weekend in particular where we went up to the Blue Mountains for the weekend, and we were away from work, and I was just so stressed and anxious for just no reason. I just didn't see a way out of it. I didn't know where I was going with work. I didn't know where my future was going. And that's a really, really scary time. So for me, it was just that feeling of feeling absolutely worthless. That was my rock bottom.
Mm.
Um, so, and it was at that point where I just decided I just needed to do something. So it was stopping drinking. I stopped going out and drinking, and just said, right, I'm going to run a marathon. And I remember my daughter coming home, because I've been talking about doing a marathon for years, and I just never got round to it. And my daughter came home with a picture she'd drawn of Mickey Mouse with the quote, "If you can dream it, you can do it." And it just made me think I need to do something, not just for me, but for my kids. And so, yeah, signed up for the marathon and started training. But that was the real turning point where I made a decision that I need to do something different. And I know I'm not going to feel good right away. I know it's going to take a bit of time, but I've made a commitment to push through. And it was just that tiny bit of hope that I think I can get through this. I didn't know I could get through it, but I thought, do you know what? If I can run this marathon, maybe I'm not so worthless. And we'll see. That was all my focus for the next 6 months.
It's just about having that hope and going into that marathon. So did you say you trained for 6 months for it?
I think it was about that, yeah. So it wasn't a huge amount of time. I mean, even though I was drinking, I was relatively fit, but really only doing maybe 1 or 2 5Ks a week. So I hadn't really, I think I'd run 1 half marathon before, or maybe two before, but nothing really more than that. But just loved the training as well. Really enjoyed it.
How was that marathon for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was, as I said, I really enjoyed the training, and each time I ticked something off, it was 10K, 12K, 15, and I think the most I did was 31, 32K. So I'd gone into that feeling fairly good and feeling as though I could do it. And I'd already made the commitment that even if I had to walk it, I would finish it. So I remember finishing, I think I did it in about 3 hours 40 something. So I was relatively pleased because I wanted to get under 4 hours. But yeah, just felt really, really good afterwards. And then it was kind of okay, I need to keep this momentum going. What's next?
I wish when I did my marathon, I trained for it. Corey gave me 2 days notice. The max I ever ran was 7Ks, and then I did a marathon. And it took me 5 hours and 20 something minutes. Yeah, it was great fun.
That's awesome. I bet, did he make you do it at night as well?
Yep. We started at 9.
Did he really?
Yeah, 9 o'clock at night, and then we finished at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Well, I'm at least he didn't make you carry a tree as well.
Oh, that'll probably be next. Who knows with him?
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. And how did you feel afterwards? Like, were you planning on doing it? How did that come to be?
So I met Corey through doing a podcast. We started talking and he goes, "Hey, do you want to come do a marathon with me?" I was like, "Yeah, all right, whatever." We get there and it's around a 1 kilometer loop.
Oh,
At
bloody hell.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock at night, I'm like, "Oh, okay, what the hell have I got myself into?" The first 20Ks were not too bad. And then after that, man, I was so sore. But then you get to that point where you're just numb and you don't feel anything anyway. And at night, I just got the runner's high and I got through it. Next morning, wow, my body was sore. Couldn't even get out of bed. So bad.
And did that, I mean, one thing it did for me is just changed my mindset of what's possible. Did you have the same
100%, man.
feeling?
I didn't even think I'd finish it. Like I was going there and I was like, will I even finish this? And then I got through. I'm like, wow, like if I can do that on basically no training, like what can I do with some training? So yeah, it really opened my eyes, and that's why like I love running now.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, running is an amazing vehicle for personal change and growth.
Yeah, it's like a meditation for me. That's why I like to do it.
Mm,
Like I do it every day. It's just really clears the mind and yeah, meditative.
yeah, same.
So you did your marathon and then was it you planned to do the Brisbane to Sydney and that got postponed and then you ended up doing is it 21 half marathons in 21 days?
Yeah, so when I finished the marathon, I suppose the next step was actually a mate from work said about a 50K up in the mountains, which was UTA. So so I finished the marathon in September, and then in May did UTA 50, which was a huge eye opener. I thought, it's only an extra 8K. How difficult is it going to be? And I remember finishing that, and it just chewed me up and spat me out. And I finished, but I was broken. And I was like, how the hell do guys do 100? How could somebody do that all over again? And then had a couple of beers in the evening at the hotel with a friend, and I just sort of said to Vicky, I've got to do the 100 next year. And so then I did the 100 the next year, and that's when I think reality kicked in for me and thought, right, if not only if I want to do the 100, but if I want to run from Brisbane to Sydney, I'm going to need to get myself a coach. So yeah, did the 100 the next year and the year after that. And then, it was Brisbane to Sydney last year. But it was all leading up to my 40th birthday. So it was my 40th last June. So the goal was always, okay, I've got, oh God, what was it? 5 or 6 years of training to get myself ready to be able to run from Brisbane to Sydney and finish at the Opera House on my 40th birthday. That was the big goal. But yeah, as you said, COVID came and ruined everybody's plans last year. So June was postponed, but then what I decided to do instead, because I didn't want to stop the conversation that I was having on mental health, and I'd done all this training and I was ready. So I wanted to do something in its place, but it needed to be big enough to cause people to look twice, but not big enough to either risk causing injury or, I suppose, take anything away from Brisbane to Sydney. So yeah, decided to do 21 half marathons in 21 days. And Troy did that with me as well. So, Luca. So yeah, that was a real good mental and physical test leading up to Brisbane to Sydney as well. So we did that in, oh God, I can't even remember whether it was March or April last year. And then each day I'd have a conversation with somebody that either supported me, inspired me, or was doing something active in the mental health space. So it was really, really eye-opening, and it was a real big confidence booster as well, because the first few days, I got a little niggle 2 days before, and I was thinking, I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to do this. And the first couple of days, I had to keep stopping and walking, and I was like, oh God, this is going to be a complete disaster. But then sort of speaking to myself one evening, I said, you know what, even if I've got to walk it every single day, I'm going to finish this, because I'd already been talking about it and I'd started it. And yeah, weirdly enough, woke up the next day, the leg's fine, and just kept on running. So, and just got stronger throughout, and just the last few runs just finished really strongly. Like we as a group decided to do a marathon on the second to last day. And we did it on the second to last day because I think it was Mother's Day on the last day. So we had to bring it back. So, and I think I did it in 3 hours 14 or something like that. So I think that's it's my quickest unofficial marathon. And to do that at the back of all those half marathons Similar to what you were saying before, you're kind of like, wow, what else is possible?
Mm. And it's crazy how your body can just adapt over time, and you get, as you said, you get stronger over time. Like the body is
Mm.
crazy.
Yeah, because on my Brisbane to Sydney run, I felt the first few days I just felt really heavy, and I think you're probably a bit. I was a bit anxious as well, and I was enjoying it, but at the same time, I think spending 2 days in the car driving up there as well with the wife and kids who were my support crew, just getting stiff and then having to run straight away. The first few days really tough, if not the first week. And I know Troy said the same thing, when he was doing his run. And you just, I don't know, just building up confidence over time. That, and from speaking to lots of people that have done these before, they've all said the same thing. The first week sucks, and don't make any big decisions in that first week. Just keep chipping away at it, and things will get better. So you just got to trust that process. And yeah, they were right. As time went on, the majority of the days were better. But there were still some days where I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? But
Yeah.
it was such an amazing adventure. And to do it with the kids as well was awesome.
Yeah. You're doing amazing things, but you're also creating all those memories with your kids as well. And like in the beginning, you're just getting in that rhythm of things. And then, once you get in that rhythm, you get in a good flow. Was there any like big setbacks along the way, or once you got past that beginning stage, it was pretty good sailing?
Well, no, there was one day in particular, and I can't remember whether it was day 13 or 14. And I was running and just feeling really good. And I was cruising along and thinking, yeah, cool, back on track. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, at the 21, 22K mark, just felt this ping in my leg. And I was just in agony. And I had to stop for a while and walked for a bit. I mean, kept stopping and starting. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it was the one day as well that Vicky had said, oh, do you know what? It's a Saturday. Do you mind if I take the kids to this amusement park today? And I was like, yeah, sure. Everything's good, feeling good. You guys go ahead, and I'll just knock this out and then go and get some food and chill out in the hotel room. And yeah, just sod's law. That's the one day that I really needed them. But what was quite surreal as well, it was the one day where this guy had said, oh, I'm going to come and meet you on my bike. So I told him, this is the route I'm traveling. And he came out of nowhere on his bike. So I was feeling really bad and thinking, I'm just not going to get through this. It's going to take me forever to walk. All of a sudden, he comes along on the horizon on his bike. He stops, this South African gent, a really nice guy. And I was sort of trying to pretend I was okay. But I sort of said, I'm feeling a bit worn out today, if I'm honest. But yeah, thanks so much for coming along. And he sort of said, oh, well, can I say a prayer for you? I sort of said, yeah, sure. And he put his hand on me and put his hand up and said this prayer. And, normally I'm not massively religious, but it was one of those things that it was just exactly what I needed at that time. And this bloke was cycling alongside, singing and saying positive encouragement for the next 20 Ks. And it was just going round and round in my head. And I got back to the hotel room, and Vicky came and then got some ice and got me some food. And I texted my coach and trying to work out, what's going to happen? And this guy's prayer is going over and over in my head. So it was really good from a mental fitness perspective as well. And I woke up in the morning, sort of bandaged my leg up and gave it a test, and it was okay. But that was one point where I was a little bit worried.
That's awesome that, like, when times when you're down in the dumps, there's always, I guess, someone or something that comes and kind of picks you up, and it's great to see that that guy came on his bike. What was it like? I guess you said you've, sparking conversations every day and meeting a lot of people. What was it
Mm.
actually like, connecting and telling your story and listening to other people's stories along the way?
Yeah, it was. And if I'm honest, it was something every time I'd have that conversation, it felt a little bit awkward, and so it was just as much for me than it was for other people as well. So being able to be really open about my story, I think because I still felt maybe a bit awkward about it, meant that I needed to do it even more. If it was about trying to break the stigma and be more open and share my story, if I still had a bit of awkwardness or reluctance about it, then I hadn't quite changed things upstairs yet. So it was something that I was using just as much to help myself and work through it myself than I was to connect with people. But I found that just, meeting somebody on the side of the road and chatting to them and, chatting about the weather and what you're doing, then all of a sudden they would say, "Oh, why are you doing it?" And I would say, "Well, actually, I'm doing it for this mental health charity." And then I'd tell them a little bit of my story. And, 9 times out of 10, they would then open up and tell me something really deep and personal. And yeah, that level of connection was just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And just connected with lots of different people along the way. I mean, one person in particular I remember, or a couple actually. So I was running down these back roads in the middle of nowhere, and I stopped off at this old petrol station, and there's just no one around for miles. And I popped into the shop and started speaking to the woman, and then I must have been chatting to her for about 20 minutes on her own mental health, the mental health of her sister. And you could tell it was like, oh, just getting it off her chest. And then I came out and there was this old boy, just real typical old school bloke, working on his car outside. "Hey mate, how's it going?" "Yeah, good." And he sort of put his stuff down and looked over and he's like, "Are you the guy that's running down to Sydney?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." He said, "Ah, I listened to you on the ABC or something this morning." He's like, and all he said was, "Good on you, mate." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And he said, "Oh, best of luck." And then I left, and then my wife came along and stopped off there to get a drink. And he was chatting to my wife and said, "Oh, are you're Mark's wife, etc." He said, "I didn't get a chance to give him this, but can you put this towards his donations?" And it was like they collected all the change from around their house and gave us about, I don't know, $10-15 in this big bag of coins. But it was, and I remember Vicky telling me, and she was just in tears, just that, just the generosity of people and the openness along the way was just mind blowing. And it was times like that that really, really gave me a lift when things were feeling really really hard.
That's amazing. And it's the ripple effect. If you open up and tell your story, it allows others to open up and tell their story, and it just keeps rippling. And that's why I love doing the podcast. We're here today
Mm,
talking about mental health and your struggles and your story. And the listeners listening be like, oh, if these guys can talk about that, why can't I? And then it just ripples
mm,
on. And that's how we ultimately, I guess, make mental health normal to talk about. And especially in men, as we keep all our emotions and feelings in. So by doing these kind of things
yeah.
and continuing the conversations, eventually men won't be scared to open up.
Mm. Yeah, and it's and one other thing actually you just reminded me of is, so during some of the conversations I had during the 21 half marathons, one of the conversations on I think it was the last day or second to last day, was with my best mate in the UK. And he'd sort of messaged me saying, do you want to have a conversation with me? And I was like, okay. And then he sort of said, because, I went through some real challenges a few years ago. I was like, really? I said, well, you didn't tell me. He's like, well, no, same as you. You didn't tell me that you were going through it as well. And we were both like, okay. Yeah, so let's have the conversation. And yeah, the conversation we had, it was probably, I've known Pete for years. We went to school together. We've both got so much dirt on each other, and we've been all over the world together, lived together. And he's a really good mate, and I'll do anything for Pete. But yet, that was the most open conversation that we've ever had. And it was just crazy to think that we could have gone our whole lives without having that conversation. And it's brought an extra layer of depth to our relationship now. Don't get me wrong, 99% of the time, we're still acting like we're 13 years old and texting each other absolute crap. But I know that if I'm struggling, I can reach out to him, and vice versa. So it's, there was some things like that. And just obviously part of that was opening up to the community. But with my immediate friends and family, it's just added a layer of depth that I had no idea would come out of that, if I'm completely honest. And it's just been amazing.
Yeah. And you made a good point there. Like when you're with your friends and family, it's usually all fun and games and nothing serious, but to actually know that you can go to that person and open up to them, as you said, adds a whole new level of connection to that relationship.
Yeah. And I don't know, even if, not that it makes you bulletproof, but I think having a few people, like one of the things about Gotcha for Life is finding a Gotcha for Life mate, finding at least one person you can have those conversations with. And for me, that just gives me an extra amount of relief that, oh God, I haven't got to work this all out myself. And if I need my mates, I know that they've got my back now. And if we go right back to where we started this conversation, where I was depressed and having those panic attacks, and I was struggling, and I was all on my own. I felt like I was all on my own. That feels so long ago from where I am now with my friendships. It's like night and day.
And like for all the listeners, like you're not alone. Like everyone goes through struggles in life, and you should be able to open up to each other because, as I said, everyone goes through it. So you got nothing to hide. Don't keep in your feelings because it's just going to build up and eventually, explode. And a lot of people go down dark paths and never come back. So reach out for help, but
Mm.
also as a community, we should be reaching into our friends and family and making sure that they're doing fine, especially during times like this.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I think it's sometimes easy to say, oh yeah, no, I'd reach out and I'm here for people when you're feeling good yourself. So it is something you need to practice or even or even set up, you know, checking in with your mates once a month just to make sure. So you're not waiting for something bad to happen. Even if it's just a, hey mate, I'm just checking in on you to see how you're going this month. You know, I'm here for you. Everything good? Yep, all good. Awesome. I'll get back to taking the piss out of you. Um, because I think if you don't, maybe if you don't do that, whether if they are having a tough time, whether they will reach out, I don't know. And that's, I suppose, something I'm trying to work out. We're all, you know, we're all trying to work out how this works and whether people will or won't reach out if they're having struggles. But I would hope that when I am feeling bad, I would reach out to my mates, and I'd do it early before it got to a point where maybe I wouldn't want to reach out.
And it's sad because a lot of people don't reach out, and it's always the people that I guess are happy, the life of the party. Like they seem like they got their life together, but really in the inside they're hurting, but they mask it with, you know, trying to make other people happy. And they don't reach out and ask for help because they believe, you know, they're going to be a burden on someone else, and or someone doesn't care about their feelings. And as I said,
Mm,
and as you just said too, like we should be reaching out, especially to those people too, and just making sure that they're okay, because in the back of their mind, they're like, oh, okay, that person actually cares about me.
yeah, because another big thing that I kind of realized going through this as well is you think you're going to be judged when you come out to your mates. Um, but if they are a really good mate, there is no judgment. And because if you flip it, and if one of your mates came to you and said, "Oh, I'm really struggling," um, you know, you'd do anything for them. I'd do anything for my mates. So if you get anything other than non-judgment, um, they're not worth having as a mate anyway.
Exactly. And like if you are scared of judgment, like there's heaps of services out there that you can call, you can even text. And I also feel
Mm,
like there's two ways people deal with this and opening up is, yeah, they go to friends and family, or they will just go to someone they completely don't know because, you know, there's no connection, there's no judgment there. So they fully open up
yeah,
to them, which is fine as long as you're opening up and you're receiving the help that you need. But at the end of the day, you know, you can get all the tools, you can get all the help, but if you truly want to change and if you truly want to become a better version of you, you got to, you know, find that inner strength within yourself and dig yourself out.
mm, yeah, 100%.
Now, with your 20 marathons for 20 days, what was it like on the finish line there? Because I watched the video on your website and there's a lot of emotions in that. What was the feeling like?
Oh, mate, it was just overwhelming, overwhelmingly happy. Um, you know, it's something I've been dreaming about and visualizing for years. Um, and it was just really, really weird coming in. I think there were some COVID restrictions at the time, so that was hard as well. But yeah, just running, especially over the bridge, I had a really nice crew of people running with me. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, and I can vividly remember the whole thing. Um, but running into the running down into Circular Quay and then around to the I can't even remember the name of the bar now. But running down to the bar with the opera house in the distance, and seeing my kids and my family there, it was, I was just so overwhelmed with happiness, and and relief as well, I think. Definitely, I think the relief on my wife's side as well, because she was worried the whole time whether I'd get there in one piece. So it just felt like it was the end of this awesome but hard work adventure. You sort of, I put up a video each day, and that was kind of the highlights of the day. But everything that went behind the scenes, just how tired I got at sometimes, how much I had to eat, how much the body was hurting, mornings where I just didn't want to get up, and pushing through that. So it was just this huge mixture of just overwhelming happiness and relief, and just to have my the Vicky and the kids there. Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, it would be. And you mentioned before you were raising money for Gotcha for Life. Why did you pick them?
Yeah, so I did a lot of research into different charities, and I'd reached out to a few of the big ones first, because obviously they're the ones you know. And I think Troy said the same thing, where you reached out to them and it was just, oh, yep, that sounds cool. Can you fill out this form and we'll set up your page? I was like, well, is nobody going to talk to me? You want to feel as though, you're excited, and you're kind of, I want to put myself on the line, and I want to do this. And to then just get a form from somebody felt really demotivating. So I started to look into other smaller charities. And then as I was thinking more and more about what I wanted to do, I really wanted to do something that I could put back into the community. So the cool thing about Gotcha for Life is they said, all of the money you raise will put straight back into the community. And you can work with your community to say, I want this to go into the club. I want this to go into schools. And we can try and set something up that's sustainable going forward. So that was a key thing for me. And, I met Gus Warland. I spoke to his wife, Vicky, on the phone for like an hour the first time I reached out to them. And I was just like, yeah, these are the guys I want to work for, and really make a change in the community. Because I wanted it to last longer than the run itself. And so, yeah, it was all about using it as a catalyst, set something up, because I went along to, they're a funding partner for organizations like Tomorrow Man and Tomorrow Woman. I'm not sure if you've heard of
No,
them.
I haven't.
Okay. Nick, you'd love it. They're really eye-opening. And so I went along to one of their workshops and dragged a couple of mates along to sort of say, right, well, this is the test. See how my mates get on. And it was just awesome. We walked away and we were like, wow, had no idea, changed our relationship. And I've seen what they've done in schools as well. So that was a huge part. I just wanted to make sure that whatever I was doing was impacting my community.
How much money did you end up raising?
I think through the two campaigns, I don't know whether it was 45K. And then the previous year was probably about 15, I think, as well, that went to Movember. So maybe over the course of a year and 3 campaigns, it's probably about 55, 60 grand, something like that.
Wow,
I
that's awesome.
can't remember exactly. But yeah, the frustrating thing with COVID is, we've tried to start it in the community and start those conversations. And just as we're about to do something, we're back in lockdown. So fingers crossed, if once we get through this, hopefully this year, we can start rolling out those workshops next year.
Yeah, it's so hard
It's really
during
exciting.
times like these, like especially like this is when people need those kind of programs, and yet
Yeah.
the organizations can't give it to them. So it's so hard.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, your next event is it Outrun Cancer, 24-hour run on the treadmill, 265 kilometers. Is that it?
That's right. Yeah.
What made you want to do that?
Well, when I was doing my research for Brisbane to Sydney, I was reaching out to different people. The first person I reached out to was a guy called Joe Ward, who's head coach at Manly Beach Running Club, who's got the record from Brisbane to Sydney. And then he gave me a load of other people to speak to as well. And one of them was a chap called Luca Turini. So Luca's the founder of Outrun Cancer, and he had a similar journey to mine in a way where he ran 20 marathons in, I think it was 30 days in the 20 provinces in Italy. So I was speaking to him about that. And then at the same time, when I looked him up on YouTube, I saw that he had the Guinness World Record for furthest distance run on a treadmill in 24 hours. I was like, okay, what's this? Watched the documentary and I was just obsessed with it. I was blown away. I was like, how can somebody do that? And so I don't know about you, but I always have my next goal after my goal. Even if I don't do it, it's kind of like, it then feels like it takes the pressure off the next focus, to make it feel as though it's more of a stepping stone to the next thing, rather than this is the big be all and end all.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, okay, maybe once I finish Brisbane to Sydney, I'll give it a go. And I actually ran with Luca on day 2 or 3 up in Byron, and we were running down the beach, and I was sort of plucking up the courage to say to him, oh, by the way, if I get through this, I'd love to have a crack at your record. And he sort of said, okay, cool. Just get through this first and then let's chat. And so, yeah, I took a couple of months off after I finished, but then that fire in the belly started to grow, and reached out to him and said, yeah, I want to give it a crack. That was back in January. And yeah, here we are now. And so unfortunately, it's going to be pushed out because of COVID. But the training's been going really well. As I said to you just before we jumped on, this was one thing that really attracted me to this as well, was that it was all mental. It was a real challenge of my mental fitness and how I approached that. Because I'm not actually a huge fan of running on the treadmill. So it takes away all the things you love about running outside, running on the trails, running in nature, and just stripping it all back and saying, can you do this for 24 hours on the treadmill? So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a big mental challenge, and I found that running myself, like obviously you need to have that base level of fitness or a good level of fitness, but it's majority mental game, especially when you do those big kind of challenges. It's your mental game that gets you through it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's certain things that I had to really focus on. So I think nutrition is a huge thing that I've had to put a lot of focus on as well, because I think I've neglected that in the past. But you're right, you've got these things you need to do, like get your nutrition sorted, you need to do your training. But yeah, there's mental side that you need to train as well, and running at different hours through the night, running when you're tired, running when you're depleted of carbs, to try and build up that resilience, and trying to work out what all the different mental strategies are that you're going to use. Because I did a big run throughout the night a few weeks back, where I ran from midnight to 8 a.m. and that was a big test of my nutrition, but also how I'm going to feel at those hours in the morning, and sort of learn and tweaked a few things as a result.
What is Luca's current record?
So he actually doesn't hold the record at the moment. There's a chap that's beat him, but I think the record at the moment is about 264 point something.
Okay, so you're just looking to beat it.
100%, yeah. even if it's by 1 meter or 1 centimeter. And one of the things from the training run the other day is obviously you're sort of having to break it down into different components and then plan in, okay, I need to slow down at the beginning of each hour to get my nutrition on. You need to plan in your toilet breaks. So on average, I need to run at about 12 Ks an hour to accommodate for all those things, which, as you know, is 5 minutes per kilometer. So you've really got to be strict on your breaks, because you take 5 minutes extra and then you've got to make up a kilometer somewhere. So that's a big part as well.
Wow. Like 5 minutes is like, it's not super fast, but it's still fast enough, especially when over that time period too. Like, especially in the back end of it, going 5 minute pace, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like lightning, but really you'll be going so slow.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a funny thing as well, because it does, especially when the legs are tired, as you said. When you're running that pace normally, I think, oh yeah, that's quite achievable. But when your legs are tired and on a treadmill, it feels a lot faster than it should.
Well, hopefully you can smash that record and it doesn't get, set back as much as you like, and you can smash the record, man. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
As we'll start to wrap up, I got a question for you, because I put the thing on Instagram. What would be your choice of beverage? The sports beer, Coke, or chalky milk?
For what purpose? All of them. I think I would definitely have some Coke whilst I'm running. So that was one thing I had the other night, was just taking a little sip of Coke from about 2-3 in the morning, just to give myself a little pickup. Love a bit of chocolate milk. I drank a lot of chocolate milk on my Brisbane to Sydney run. And then, I love having a sports beer afterwards, especially in the shower. There's just something amazing about drinking a beer in the shower after a hard run. It's nothing better.
I'll hold you to that. Now, the chalky milk, I've heard from a lot of people, like a lot of people love it, and it's like better than kind of protein shakes and that. Like, people prefer it over protein shakes.
Yeah, well, I have I have a protein shake every day after a run, and I use chocolate milk as well. So chocolate milk, protein, a banana, and an avocado. But I don't know all the science behind it, but I heard about that from reading and listening to some of Pat Farmer's videos on his multi-day events. So then that's why I thought, oh yeah, I've got to check this out, and then was just addicted. Every single time I'd run past a petrol station, or a little shop, I'd pop in for a chocolate milk on my run.
And it tastes a lot better than a protein shake.
Just easier to digest
Yeah.
as well. Plus, it's because what you're looking for obviously is carbs at the time, not protein. So I suppose it's just focusing on exactly what you need at the time.
Exactly. Last few questions. What does having a better life mean to you?
Ooh, good question. A better life. I think for me now, it's more about growth. I mean, I'm really happy with my life at the moment and with my family and my kids. But it's about, for me, it's about growth and just setting that example for my kids. So having a better life is about being the best version of myself for my kids. There's a really nice quote I heard from somebody the other day, and it was, oh God, what was it? I'm going to get it wrong now. I've said it. What was it? I am enough, but I'm not done. So it's that nice balance of, yeah, I'm enough. I don't need anything else, but I'm not done in where I want to go in life. And that's where I feel as though I am mentally at the moment. I'm not doing these things because I feel as though I'm lacking anymore. I'm doing them from just really curious to see where I can go.
That's what life's about. Just seeing how far you can go and ultimately become the best version of you.
Yeah.
How do you define success?
Oh, I think success is just living life on your terms. I think it's about living your own values and not injecting other people's values into your life. So success is really about being you. It sounds really corny and cliche, and it's hard to do, but it is literally just living life on your terms.
Love that. And when your time's all up and done on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
A great father.
Awesome. Man, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast today, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nick. I've really, really enjoyed it, mate.
Awesome, man. Good luck on your run. As I said, hopefully you don't have to postpone it too far back, and hopefully you smash that record too.
Ah, mate, it's very surreal, but yeah, I can't wait.
You'll get there. Just keep training and see what happens.
All day. Yep.
Exactly. Well, for all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in once again. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'll put all the links to what Mark's doing in the description. So go out and check what he's doing. He's doing amazing things. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.
Thanks again, Nick. Love what you do, mate.